And now, Effective Communication with Phil Zeller, CEO, Dale Carnegie, Southwest Michigan.
Just imagine how difficult it is these days to be a teenager. Is it more difficult than when you and I were a teenager? Do you think it's easier to be a teenager these days? Well, most people I've talked to recently in the past year and a half, 2 years, with all the changes because of the pandemic and all the other social constructual issues going on, are saying, wow, it must be overwhelming to be a teenager these days. There's so many things going on. Am I supposed to go to school today? Do I not go to school today? Do I wear a mask today? Do I not wear a mask today? Do I understand health? Do I understand what a doctor understands? Does the doctor understand? Do I understand? Who understands? Does the teacher understand? Does the system understand? Does the government understand? Who understands? What understands? What understanding? And the confusion's running rampant. And as I spend a lot of time going out there researching and just listening to people and sharing things. And nobody's more important, of course, in our own life than the people closest to us in our lives. And the other day I was reading some articles and they were talking about gender, different genders. And on Tumblr, there's over 100 different genders. On Facebook, there's over 60 different genders. And I started thinking about it. We didn't have all of these different things when I was a teenager. We just didn't have them. Now, I make a correlation to this as I talk to people and I say, we've always had thousands of religions. And right now there's over 4,000 religions being practiced in the world. Now, you may be able to name 1 or 2% of them. Most people can't. Most people can't name, 50 religions, let alone 4,000 that are in the world. So imagine you're trying to keep up with all the things that people believe in this world and all the different faiths and all the different religions. And now you're a teenager. And on top of that, now you have to keep up with all of the different genders. That's in the midst of a pandemic. That's in the midst of all the social things going on right now and changes in social constructs and people pressing different theories of what they think based upon the way they feel. And now you're a teenager and you're stuck in the middle of all this and you see it being thrown at you. So, interestingly enough, I went to my daughter and I said, how do you deal with all this? I mean, straight up, be honest with me. Because I talk to teenagers, I talk to adults, and there are a lot of people that are just jumping on stuff, and they're just coming hard at people. And my daughter says to me, you know how Grandma always said, if you have nothing nice to say nothing at all? I said, yes, that was always sage advice that Grandma gave. And that absolutely was a very good thing to do. You don't want to ever say anything bad about anybody. And she said, Dad, it doesn't work anymore. I said, excuse me? She said, it doesn't work anymore. Because if you don't say anything, they put words in your mouth. They will define things for you. They will do that. And so they make an assumption. And then they decide, they put it out there in social media or anywhere else, and they will decide what they think you are, who they think you are, and they'll make assumptions about it, and they'll just choose. So if you say nothing, what you're saying is, okay, I'm giving you the right to define me. And I think to myself, oh my gosh, that's the last thing I would want for a child, especially for any child who's questioning their confidence level to say, you know what, the rest of the world is going to define me and I'll never have a say in my life and I'll always be a victim. What an awful life that would be to lead, to just be a victim. So I said, how do you deal with it then? How do you deal with it so you're not that victim? So you're not somebody who's being defined as somebody you're not because people are just doing that because it suits them and it doesn't suit you. And she said, Dad, what I do is I take the time to listen. What I do is when they say, what do you think about this? I go, well, help me to understand what specifically do you mean? And she goes, and if they really care about what they're talking about, they'll take the time to explain it to you. And then what you do is you ask them more questions about it so you really get an understanding of where they're coming from. Where did they learn this? Did an adult teach this to them? Did a teacher teach this to them? Did somebody in their family teach this to them? Is a certain type of religion they're part of that taught them this? What is it that taught them to think this way differently than other people? And she said, interestingly enough, they'll have a story if they really are concerned about it, and they'll share that story with you. And you could ask questions to understand. She goes, now at the end of the conversation, sometimes, Dad, I got to be honest, I'm just as confused as where we started because I don't understand it because what they're saying doesn't make sense. She said, but to them, it does. And she said, really, at the end of the day, they want to be heard, they want to be appreciated, and they want to be valued. So by seeking understanding, it doesn't say whether I agree or disagree, but what it does do is shares with them that I care. And if I care, they're probably going to be nice back to me. So her advice to me, to me and to you is take the time to listen and understand right now. And if you take the time to listen and understand, people are probably going to be nicer to you and treat you better. So if you do this, you don't have to worry about people saying negative things about you because you're the person who took the time to understand.